Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at Whisper Status 74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. Today's video is the first look, unboxing, and setup of the LG C2, and all I can say is, wow.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining me. I am Brian at Whisper Status 74. This is the LG C2 55 inches. Behind me, I see that my camera is blurring it out a little bit. It is amazing. Just got back from Value Electronics, where Shane from Spare Change and I had filmed the unboxing and introduction of the LG 77-inch C2 by Robert Zahn, owner and founder of Value Electronics. Just got back from there. And Robert and Wendy were kind enough to loan me a 55-inch LG C2, which is here. They got them about a week earlier than a lot of other retailers, and very kind of them to lend me one of the panels, as there was only two 55 inches. It was a very small allocation. They'll have more next week, but still unbelievably kind, and giving me the privilege of being one of the first in the US to be able to bring you the LG C2. I will tell you that my first impressions are I'm absolutely amazed by it. It has the wow factor, it has the vibrancy, it has the clarity, and it has the color. I've been around plenty of OLEDs from the C7, C8, C9, CX. Currently have the 83-inch C1, which I use daily. Love the panel. Spent a lot of time with the Sony A90J Master Series. I have an A80J at 77 inches, and this TV gives me that wow factor. I feel like, I'm going to say it without measuring it, the brightness or anything, but it just has a different level of vibrancy. It does have a different level of clarity. Now, the 42 and the 48 inches, I believe, are out in the UK. These have different specs. We'll go over those with Robert this weekend when we speak about the prices of the G2 next week, and he'll go through the various difference of the kind of Evo panels and the different processing that is involved. But this panel is absolutely stunning. Now, seeing the 77-inch, what's interesting, when we filmed the 77-inch, we had a 100-inch panel next to it and an 83-inch panel next to it, and it still had that wow factor. But getting home the 55-inch, I thought I would be underwhelmed. I thought that I would say, okay, well, I went from the 77-inch. While I was filming this and did the unboxing, the A80J was on the wall, one of last year's best OLEDs, and this panel blows me away. It does have another level of brightness. It does seem to push the panel harder. It is an Evo panel. Last year, a lot of confusion about which was an Evo panel, which wasn't. We're not having it this year. New processor, and the processor, you can definitely see more detail in the image. It is definitely, in my opinion, an upgrade from what we've seen the last number of years, which is tough to say because the C9, the CX, and the C1 are excellent. Right now, quick analysis, I just feel like it's much more vibrant and much more detailed. Now, spending a few hours with this C1 or C2 at 55 inches and several hours with the 77-inch C2, didn't have any issues with dimming or ABL or ABSL. We even had some of these demos paused on pure white. Didn't see any pink tint on the 77 or any pink tint on the 55-inch. This 55-inch is very clean. Checked it in the grays, especially when we were updating it and setting it up, but very, very impressed so far. Shockingly impressed. And I really did expect from the C2 a C1 continuation and then see the leap with a G2. Except I do feel like the C2 is a jump, again, in brightness, saturation of colors. It seems like there's more color, and there seems to be more detail. So if that processor has caught up, did it catch up to Sony's cognitive processor from last year? It does feel like it. It is that nice. Now, I'm seeing it, being with it, again, 55-inch and all day with the 77-inch, and it is a wow for me. I mean, shockingly good. surprisingly good. Again, I'm expecting the big jump to be with the G2, as it does have the heatsink. The C2 does not, and I was still absolutely blown away. Even going through the settings, it does ship in standard. Going through the settings, even to filmmaker mode, it didn't really dim. It was more accurate, but it didn't get dark. It remained bright the entire time. So we'll see some gaming on it. I have the panel. So special thank you to, again, Robert and Wendy Zahn for having lent me this. Again, they have very few. It was very kind. So I do thank them from myself and our entire community. I'll be able to match this panel against the 77-inch A80J from last year and the 83-inch C1 from last year. Then when this panel goes back, maybe next week, but next week we're going to see the G2. You're definitely going to see the G2 next week versus the C1 that's already at Value Electronics. So again, special thank you to them. I'll talk more behind the camera. You'll see the setup kind of as I'm going through and the unboxing as I'm talking. The panel's been unboxed before. On Shane's video, I'll link Spare Change's video below, and you'll see it picture in picture. I think unboxings are painfully boring. I will also say this panel is so light. Being able to pick it up, no problem, while it was in the box. Being able to move it around my home. My 55-inch CX was actually very heavy. The blade on the stand was almost the length of the panel. This is a narrow stand. It does feel much lighter, so it's amazing how light it feels, and very premium still. So far, absolutely loving it, beyond my expectations. I did think we were going to have just continuation of a C1. I do feel it is a step up. All right, guys, here we are doing the actual setup. I'll leave the unboxing and assembly in the background, as you can see in picture. Very similar to other LGs with the initial setup. Some subtle differences to the menu. Many tweaks and changes to the C2. We will discuss those in further videos. The stand is very easy to install. The panel is extremely light. You can easily install it yourself, flip it up, put it back on top of the box, and install the stand. The stand has 2 tabs, and here we are looking at the 4 HDMIs, 2.1. Not sure if they're 48 gigabits per second. I have to follow up on that. USBs and an IR extender. AI Picture Pro I use at times. I always use AI Sound, especially if you're not using a sound system. It's just much louder. Again, there's the tabs for the stand. It clicks in, 4 screws, and you're done. Now, the panel is much brighter as far as I'm concerned, has more, at least the perception of brightness, and it has quite a bit difference in the vibrancy. You can see that initially when the menu first kicks on. For those of you that are familiar with OLEDs in general, it's very crisp. As I turn the panel around, if you look at the picture in picture, the smaller blade also gives it a higher profile look. It sits higher. Now we're going to move into some of our favorite demo material. This is one of my favorite LG Global demos. This is the exact image out of the box. Eco mode is not enabled. We are in standard. Standard has a color depth of 65, I believe. And out of the box, you have a stunning image. Very crisp, very saturated. Blacks are phenomenal. Showing you some of the multi-view. There are, again, some changes to the menu. But such a beautiful image. Now, I would say last year, C1 and the CX, out of the box, they were a little subdued. You had to tinker with them quite a bit to make them look like they were jumping off the screen. Not so much this year. This year, they look amazing out of the box. I believe last year and the year before, OLED Care and those settings were on that turned them down. As we're going into the self-care, you can see we're checking to see if the light controls are on. They are not. but I believe that stuff was enabled last year. Eco mode, prematurely dimming the panel. As I mentioned too, as we were doing the other video with the 77, again, had some of these demos paused, didn't see any dimming. I mean, very pleased with this, guys. I mean, it's not blowing smoke. I have the C1 at 83, and I'm already kind of addicted to this panel, even though it's only 55 inches. I've seen these demos, and you guys who have followed me have seen these demos on everything from the ZX to the A90 to the A9G, the best panels in the last few years, Z9J, Z9K, Z9G, and this looks as good. I'm not kidding, it looks beautiful. Really, really impressed with its vibrancy. You guys have all seen these demos. I'll run this one back at the end because we're going to mess around with the settings a little bit, but really, really beautiful. So what I'll do at the end of this video is I'll run this one back in filmmaker mode, because it's amazing how even in filmmaker mode, which would be is more dim, more accurate, it still looks fantastic. It doesn't look less punchy at all. Just going through the settings here, very similar to what you've seen last year. You see the color depth is 65. Definitely gonna warm up warm it up to warm 50. And even though it's a punchier setting, it does look so good and accurate. As we know, OLEDs push blue. Now here I'm going to show you some SDR. What I love about LG and SDR is the amount of extra presets you get, the ISF calibrated modes, things like that. In those modes, you can really change the image quite a bit. It's one of my favorite SDR demos. And the expert one does get dark, goes right into vivid. Now also this panel, extremely clean. No dead or stuck pixels, and I didn't see much banding. Now what I'll typically do is check for banding and things like that after about 2 or 3 days of constant use. The idea is to break in the panel, let it run. So I've been home for about 4 or 5 hours. It's been running. This video and my commentary, this part of it's done probably an hour and a half after my intro, meaning so as excited as I was with my intro, I'm more excited now. Now, for those of you that know that I have, again, I've mentioned 83-inch C1. Very happy with my C1. However, I do have the opportunity to upgrade it this year, and now I'm excited to upgrade it. That's how much I like the C2. C1's amazing, CX is amazing, but I do like the C2, I'm telling you. Seeing the 77-inch, I'm very, very excited to see what the G2 has to offer with the heatsink. You guys have to understand the competition between LG and Sony is fierce. I personally feel that the CX had caught up to Sony in terms of its processing, the C1, and then the cognitive processor pulled away. I do feel from what I'm seeing here that LG is caught up again. The processing seems to have more depth. Even with the Stacy Spears and Munsell demo disc that you'll see in Shane's video, a lot of detail in that demo that I haven't seen much of before. This is also a stunning new LG Global demo. Breathtaking demos, really, really beautiful. And it does show the whole spectrum. What I like what we're doing here with OLEDs, and I'll go in here to the other preset. There's your filmmaker mode, and look how clean that is. Typically, filmmaker mode can look very dull, but not in with the C2. Filmmaker mode still very punchy. And you'll see as I transferred from game mode to filmmaker mode, didn't really lose any of its brightness. Now the pixel density will make it seem cleaner than my other panels because they are larger. But remember, I spent the day with the 77, so that argument doesn't really hold weight. Now I'm kind of low here, not missing a little bit of top. I want to show you just how it stands up off the table. It's a higher, so it still has a low profile look, but it does seem higher up, maybe to leave room for a soundbar. Very smooth motion. But again, that competition between LG and Sony one-upping each other. That's why you see a lot of official pricing weighted. Hang back. They know that they can change them on the fly. In the next few weeks, Robert Zone, the owner of Value Electronics, and I will be doing price adjust and release dates every weekend. And you'll see he'll announce the 48-inch and the G2s this Sunday. Shane's video is already up. I'll link that one to this one where you can see a more comprehensive unboxing, and we built the stand there as well. And normally I don't sound quite as excited as I do now, but I am very excited for this year. Between the QD OLEDs from both Sony and Samsung, LG, the QNEDs, Sony, I mean, there's just so much good stuff coming this year. And I'm dying to see what the G2 heatsink. I can put it very plainly this way. If it wasn't for the G2 and I was offered an 83-inch C2 over my C1, I would take it. Meaning I would upgrade to it. Again, I'm in the industry, so I wouldn't compare it to everyone else, but I think the differences are enough, not for you to sell your panel and move up, but I would for myself. And that's just without a heatsink. That's just better utilization of the Evo panel and the processor. I feel the Evo panel last year was thrown around. We didn't really utilize it. To me, this is brighter than probably the G1 and very close to how I felt the first time I saw the A90 Master Series. Last year, the A90 Master Series was a clear step above. I do feel that even the C2 without the heatsink is right there, which means the G2 is going to be scary. But if you're looking to buy your first OLED, the C2 is already an amazing choice. I never thought we'd be sitting here looking at OLEDs that are bright with the lights on, but not compromising the black level. Contrast ratio is king after all. Now here we are, I think we're in filmmaker mode for this one, and we're wrapping it up after this. Again, very special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zun of Value Electronics. You hear me bring them up a lot, but guys, there is no opportunity to have these products without them, without their kindness and hospitality. I'm able to bring you things that are early and that are comprehensive. I'll be bringing you panels all year long. The season of TVs has just started. Next week, we'll be seeing the G2. We'll be seeing the C2 versus the G2, the A90 versus the G2, the A80 versus the C2, the C1 versus the C2. So beautiful. Really, really impressed and very, very happy. You'll be seeing videos for the next 2 weeks from the LG C2, from me, PS5, Series X, PC, demo material, and comparisons. Then I'll get it back to Value Electronics and then whatever else they allow me to bring home. But very excited for this TV season. Thank you guys for your friendship. Thank you for your patience. Wow. Really, really beautiful. Now, this last demo is actually going to be put on Vivid just for haha, which is why you'll see it bloom a bit. And I'll be doing videos on demo material, my good friend Jennifer Gala, and these demos here, I'll be showing you those, and we'll do a demos list throughout the year. But today, for me, this is the official kickoff to the TV season. Again, I thank you for being part of the community. I thank you for being part of the family. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. Oh, wow. What's funny is here it looks like it blooms a little bit. It's just moving so quickly my camera can't catch up. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Are you excited? What do you think? Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Take care.